But that one, can we just talk about Rafa and Zverev first round? That is bonkers crazy first round.
It is crazy for everyone. Obviously, Rafa doesn't want to see that draw, and I don't think Zverev wants to see that draw. Zverev's coming off a Rome title. Rafa's coming off 14 French Open titles. He's not playing his best right now. Hopefully, he's got 3-4 more days to kind of fine-tune his game and see what level he can get to. But obviously, Zverev's going to be a heavy favorite in that. Rafa will have 99.9% of the crowd support. And hopefully we get a good competitive match from Rafa. I don't know if deep down he believes he can win it, but I think he would love to go out there, play really well, and then anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a sad first round, really, in so many ways, because you want to see him win a couple of matches at least. But I think it's 99.99%, and maybe the two people in the crowd is Zverev's dad and his brother cheering for him, but that'll be about it.
They also, a little part of them might want Rafa to win too.
Maybe, but probably not. So, Sam, what about the fact that Novak, who clearly is, a lot of people think Alcaraz is the favorite. His draw isn't too bad. Alcaraz down the bottom half of the draw. It looks like he will play Sinner if they get through to the semifinals and play one another, which we know is arguably the best matchup in tennis these days. But Novak, what about him going to, as we look at the draw? I mean, there it is. Alcaraz, Djokovic, are the top and bottom sections of the draw. Djokovic will have to play Alcaraz. If Alcaraz beats Sinner, I mean, there's so many great players, but I want your thoughts on the fact that Novak has gone and played a 250 in Geneva before the French Open. I mean, when was the last time he did that to prepare for the French? And what does that signal to you?
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever done that before the French, but this is one of those weird years. He's never had a year like this coming into the French where he hasn't won a tournament. He's had a ton of early round exits. But I've been saying this for a while. As long as Novak Djokovic is in the draw, I'm picking him to win the tournament. He's just been too dominant over the last 6, 7, 8 years. The French Open is a different test than the previous, 5, 6 tournaments he's played, which has been 2 out of 3 set events. This is 3 out of 5. This is a true test. He's been to the finals 7 times. So with Novak in the draw, I'm picking him to win it right now.
But look at that first round that he has to play. Herbert, who we know is a very, very good French player. He can, play unbelievable sometimes. And, with the French crowd, Sam, there's nothing worse in tennis than playing a French player in Paris. I mean, it's like all of a sudden you realize, oh, they hate me here. So, yeah. I mean, just on that alone and playing a tournament leading into the French Open, that proves that he is not confident at all. And 37 years of age on Wednesday, it's not going to get any easier for him. I mean, his draw is quite strong.
No, you're right. Like you said, he's 37. It's just going to get harder and harder. But until someone can prove to me that they can beat Novak consistently at a slam, especially the French Open, over a 5-set match on clay, Novak is still the guy to beat, in my opinion. Having said that, Alcaraz, Sinner, those guys are arguably maybe playing a little better than him at the moment, but I think Novak is still at the top of the mountain.
And one first round that stood out to me, obviously, other than Rafa and Zverev, was Andy Murray plays against Stan Wawrinka. Of course, Stan Wawrinka, truly one of the great players. It's interesting that Andy and Stan are probably the two best players outside of the top 3, greats in. Certainly Novak, Roger, and Rafa. So them playing against each other in the first round arguably could be their last French Open as well. The two of them. Just quick thoughts on the two of those two playing each other in the first round.
Right, it could go back 8 years. That's a semifinal. But yeah, it could be their last one. They've both been playing challengers this year. They still love the game. You see them. Murray was in Bordeaux last week. You see Stan playing challengers. There's obviously there's some fire there still that they want to kind of get back into the mix with the guys in the top 20, top 30, but they're struggling at the moment. But that's going to be one of those matches. Maybe the quality isn't where it is or isn't where it was 6, 7, 8 years ago, but it's a huge matchup. It's two big names. They're going to be on a big court. It's going to be packed with fans, and I'm personally excited to watch it. I don't know about you. I know they're not in their prime, but it's still a fun matchup.
I know Andy gets the worst draws. He really does get bad draws at the slams, no matter what. And clearly not his favorite surface clay, but he played a lot on it as a kid. That's really where he sort of crafted his tennis was in Spain, on the dirt, which is why he's kind of a little bit defensive, really, as a player. But quickly on the women's as well, Iga Swiatek, we know she's the favorite going to the French. We're going to break all of this down a lot more with Jessica Pegula, who is our guest today. We can't wait to hear from Jess. She is a little bit injured and pulled out of the French Open today, so we get to hear all about her thoughts going into particularly the women's. But your thoughts on that? Danielle Collins is up her section, like up in her half of the draw, possibly in her fourth round. She'll play Iga Swiatek, Danielle. So just your thoughts on the women's. There are some interesting first rounds. Svitolina playing against Pliskova first round. Just give me your quick thoughts on the women.
Yeah. Iga's, when we had Serena in her prime, it was Serena and everyone else. That's what we've got right now with Iga, especially on the clay. She is the clay court queen, winning Madrid, winning Rome. It's her tournament right now. I think all the women in the event feel that. Like, hey, is there going to be an upset? But Iga's been so dominant. I don't see anyone beating her as long as she plays at a relatively high level. But yeah, that's kind of where I see it going. What are your thoughts on the women's side?
Yeah, when I look at this draw, I mean, Iga arguably has a tougher draw. I think a tougher draw, not in the first round. Andreeva is a very good young player, so that is not going to be an easy first up match for Sabalenka, whereas, Iga gets to play against the qualifier. Sometimes those qualifiers can be unbelievably good as well. I mean, Sophia Kenin took out Goff last year at Wimbledon, for example, after getting through qualifying, and such a classy player. So it depends on who the qualifier is, but I'd say Iga feels pretty good about that first round. But to get through Bronzetti, Kudermetova, Alexandrova, and clearly we know this is probably not going to be the players that she plays, because we know there's always upsets. But Goff in the semifinals, and then, of course, Sabalenka, that's sort of been what we've been watching this year. Her playing Goff in the quarters or semis, her playing Sabalenka in the final. And then for Sabalenka, I think she starts off pretty tough there. Bolter had a decent year. I think it's Madiki, Sakari, Rybakina. That's not easy 3 matches in a row, because they all can play very well on clay. But once the train gets on the tracks with these two, it's kind of hard to stop them. So I see them being in the final against one another. But certainly we never know. Rybakina, can she stay healthy? Not injured, not throwing up somewhere. I mean, she keeps getting sick. I think she's just got to, I don't know, bring a chef to cook for her or something. I don't know what's going on. But certainly the women's draw is uber exciting. So who knows? But it's Iga against the field for sure.